Okay, guys, we're going to make the fish assignment modeling from reference. So to do this, I got Blender open. I've deleted the default cube. I'm just going to go ahead though and start a new project just so you can see what it should look like right from the beginning. So there we go. We won't save that. Okay, we got our new project. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit 1. All right, bingo. And now I need to load in my reference image. So I've got it downloaded. I've got the fish downloaded. So I'm going to go Shift A, Image, Reference, and go to my Downloads folder and just get it right out of there. So there's my Neon Tetra. Okay, so there's my reference image. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and center or kind of level that thing a little bit. So I'm going to hit R to rotate. I'm going to rotate that image and get it about like that. So it's the fish is actually straight. Okay, so now a little trick here. While I've got the reference image selected, I'm going to go over here to the image reference properties, and I'm going to turn on opacity. And if I set that a little bit lower, it's just going to make it a little easier to see what I'm doing. So maybe 50% there. Okay, now I'm going to grab my box, my default cube, and make sure I'm into one view. So we're working pretty much two-dimensionally here, really, for now. And I'm going to set that thing and kind of shape it, move it, and scale it so it's about like that. Going to switch over to wireframe mode and switch over to edit mode. Okay, I want to grab these two vertices, and it's important since I'm in wireframe mode to understand that like by clicking one of them, I'm not necessarily clicking the one behind it. So I need to select them both like that. And then I hit E to extrude, S to scale, G to move, and I'll do something about like that. And it's okay at this point if it's a little bit bigger than the fish. We'll take care of that later. E to extrude, S to scale, and that looks pretty good right there. Okay, E to extrude. So I'm trying to, every time I extrude out a new section, I'm trying to make it about the same size as what's come before it. S to scale. That's a little bit big, but that's okay. We'll try to be close. All right, I'm gonna go over here to this box now, and I'll do Control R, and I'll put a loop cut. I'll do 2 loop cuts. So 2 clicks to set them in place. 1 click lets you move them back and forth. 2 clicks to set them in place. Okay, so now I've got my loop cuts in there. Now I'm gonna work on the back. So I'll grab Box Select. If I use Box Select, see I'm grabbing both the front and the back, and I'm creating both sides at the same time. So it's important to use Box Select. E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude, S to scale. You can also rotate if you want to rotate it a little bit, seem like it makes it a little bit straighter. E to extrude, S to scale, try again. E to extrude. I'll do 2 more extrusions here, and that one actually going to get scaled up a little bit. Okay, so yeah, I'm a little bit off down here, but that's okay. All right, so now the next step is I want to just do some individual adjustments here. So I'll go in and I'll grab these 2. So remember, when I box select, I'm actually grabbing 2. And I'll pull them down a little bit, grab these 2, pull them down a little bit. And it's okay to kind of get close to the edge of the body at this point, not a big deal. Pull that up a little bit, pull that up a little bit, and just try to make sure it's right on the edge. And maybe that'll go up a little bit, that'll go down a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I've got the main basic body finished. So I'm going to go ahead and create some fins. So to create the fins, I think the next step should be I'm going to do Control R, and I'm going to do a loop cut around the center of this thing. So I want to make sure that loop cut, if I put my line right there, I want to make sure I'm going all the way around the top. So this one, yeah, there we go. So I've set that in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a loop cut in the middle like that. All right, cool. So now I've got that. So where my fins are, this one and this one, I need to duplicate those 2 vertices. So I'm going to make sure I use 1 click this time. Just click it, Shift, click the next one, Shift D to duplicate, bring that up just a little bit. And then I'm going to make sure that I have it right where I need it from the side view, but also I'm going to make sure I have it right where I need it from the front view. So you see I'm a little bit off from the front view because I moved it at an angle. So I'll shift click that one, G, and boom, right there in the center. Okay, so now from my side view, I'm going to select both of these guys, both those vertices, E to extrude, E to extrude, E to extrude, and I'll do one more. There we go. Okay, so now I just need to kind of do what I've done before and start grabbing these vertices and moving them around so that it fits the shape. And does something like that, something like that. It's okay to be on the inside of the fin a little bit here, as long as it's not outside the fin. So one at a time. And that looks pretty good. I probably need one more, so I'll loop cut. Control R to loop cut, and I'll put in a vertex in the center. Whoa. So moving it back and forth a little bit if I need to, but right now just leave it in the center. Click again to set it in place. And I'll grab that center and I'll move it up a little bit and make sure these are a little bit closer to the edges. That looks pretty good. I could put one more in here, but I don't think it's necessary. I think that looks just fine. Okay, so now I need to make another one of these same guys for the bottom. So I'll just repeat that same process. So I'll grab this vertex and make sure I'm getting the center ones, that one, and I'll duplicate them. So Shift D to duplicate, move them down a little bit. If you happen to get two that aren't connected for some reason, if you don't get a line between them, you can always hit F to fill and it'll create a line between the two if you select them both. But same process again. I'm going to go ahead and drag this one way out over here. That one goes right there. So I got my two vertices, and I'm going to make sure that they're centered from the front view too. So there's the front view. So I'll grab those two, G to move, get them centered from the front view. There we go. Okay, so with both of those selected, E to extrude, 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 and Control R, make a couple loop cuts, and then I'm going to start grabbing and just moving these vertices around until they're all kind of even and they're all inside the fin. Main thing here is I want to make sure that I don't overlap any vertices, and I want to make sure I'm always working in the front two-dimensional view. So this is going to take just a minute. I just got to move all these guys around. And get all these guys inside. That one will go there. That one will go there. And this one can go here. All right. Now I've got this vertex I really don't need sticking out way over here. I could move it in and put it right there and have an extra really small face, but if I delete that vertex, I'm not really losing anything. I just lost that a little bit, but I didn't really need that, so that's fine. I can just delete that vertex there. The main thing is if I look at it from the front, it's still perfectly level. It's still perfectly straight. I didn't move anything in 3 dimensions. If I look at it from the side, I don't have any vertices that overlap each other. And I do have this one kind of lost vertex here. You see, it's not a good thing if you have a vertex that doesn't connect to another one. So I could shift click this one and hit F to fill and create a little connector between the two, because it's always good for your vertex to connect to something else, you know, like so it's not just like on an edge by itself. Okay, so there's the back fin. All right, so now same process to repeat for the rear fins. So need to create another 2 vertices. So I'll grab the 2 center ones here, grab those 2, Shift D to duplicate, F to fill, so that connects those 2 together. And then I'll make sure that they're where I need them to be. So put that one, one at a time, put that one there. G to move, put that one there. Okay, so look at them from the front view. Oh, they're still pretty straight, good enough. So E to extrude, E to extrude, E to extrude, E to extrude. That looks pretty good. I'll do a like that. So you could do this by just making a plane. You know, any way you want to do it works, but this is the best way, I think. Okay, so now I can start grabbing these guys and moving them so that they're on the fin. Again, I don't have to be perfect because we're going to add more detail with the subdivision surface later, so I'm just getting them basically where they need to go. That one goes there. And then this guy will go here, this guy will go here, this guy will go here. And okay, so you can see we need a little bit more detail. So I'll put in a loop cut here, and I'll put in a loop cut here. Then I'll pull that out a little bit, take that over here. That's good enough right there. That's a good enough shape. That's fine. It's on the inside of the fin. That's excellent. Okay, so now I've got my basic model created. It's very chunky. It needs to be a lot thinner to be a fish. So I'm going to go ahead and look at it from the front, hit A to select everything, and S to scale, but I'm going to scale on the Y axis. So S and then Y. Make sure that you're scaling it only like that so it gets thinner, and it needs to be pretty thin. So something about like that. That looks pretty good. All right. So now I'll go back to the front, look at it. Still looks good from the front. Okay. So now that I've got my basic fish model made, I want to smooth it out a little bit, just kind of round it a little bit. So I can use this tool here. It's called Smooth. And there's a trick to this. Now, I've made all of this stuff in edit mode. So if I hit A, I select everything. But the fins actually, you can see they're not actually connected to the model. They're like separate vertices that aren't connected to the main fish body model, which is what I want. Now let's say I want to only select this main fish body model. So if I press L, I don't even have to have anything selected. If I just press L with my mouse on top, oops, try again. If I just press L with my mouse on top of it, it's going to select that whole linked area. So these vertices are all linked together. These are not. So that's why they didn't get selected. So I got the smooth tool, and I can rotate it and look at it from any direction here. So with the smooth tool, I just grab that yellow ball and drag it. And as I drag it, you can see it kind of rounds out the model. So it just smooths out the model a little bit. Opposite direction actually goes the opposite way and makes it more jagged. But if I smooth it out a little bit and round it, so it's also going to shrink the model a little bit. So I'll shrink it a little bit like that. That's good. Okay, great. Now I'm going to go back to the one view and look at this front area. So it's important that now that this doesn't have it happen right here. I've got a little black showing. So black is going to be bad. So I'm going to grab that and move it in a little bit. Grab that and move it up a little bit. Move that up a little bit. So I can work on my undo. Okay, I want to make sure that now my vertices don't perfectly line up. So if I work on this side, you see I kind of got to work on this side at the same time. So I almost want to box select this whole little area right here and make sure that I don't have any black. Otherwise, I'm going to have like a black hole sticking out of my mouth, and make sure that that's good. Okay, I want to do one more thing, and that is to get a little bit more detail on this model. I'm going to add a subdivision surface to it. So subdivision surface is in object mode. Back to object mode. Grab my modifiers tab, add modifier, subdivision surface, and I want to set both of these to 1 and go ahead and apply it. Now you can see it's rounded everything out even more. If I go back to edit mode with that on, you can see, okay, with subdivision surface on, I have kind of like the original model, and then you can see the black lines inside that model that are going to be the new subdivision surface model. So I'll go ahead and apply this now. Well, I've got to be in object mode to apply. So I'll go ahead and apply that. Boom. Okay, so now I got a little bit more detail. Now that had the effect of also kind of, besides making everything kind of rounded and more organic, it shrunk my fish model quite a bit. So it's all a little bit smaller. The fins are going to overlap a lot. So I need to go back to edit mode. I want to grab this fin, L to select that linked fin, and I could maybe just hit L, scale it just a little bit maybe, and move it down just a little bit. And I want to make sure that it's still over the fin and it's completely inside the body. So I've kind of lost a lot here, so I might grab some of these guys, grab some of these guys here, move them up a little bit, grab some of these guys, move them up a little bit. So you can go in and kind of fine tune a little bit. Oh, I'm still on the smooth tool. I need to switch back to box select. Very good. Okay, I go in, grab some of these guys, move them up a little bit, and then I can grab this fin and make sure that there's overlapping here. So you want this fin to overlap with the fish body. And when I get up here, I might grab some of these three. So I'm using box select to grab those three. Just kind of fine tune things a little bit here. Now, I could get super detailed and even get the mouth in this model. But if I do something like that, I'm just kind of fine tuning and getting it all, I just got to make sure that everything is where I want it. So I don't want to be too far from the edge, but I don't want to go over the edge. The main thing is I don't go over the edge. So grab and move around a little bit, grab and move around a little bit, and fine tune it like that. You don't necessarily have to get all of this, because if I lose some of this, it's not going to be that big of a deal, but I'm going to go ahead and work my way around. You could use proportional editing for this and probably speed up the process a little bit, as long as you don't overdo it. Okay, so now I need to grab this fin here. I'll use L to select that whole linked fin and move it so that, without proportional editing, no proportional editing here, and move it so that it's all completely inside and overlaps a little bit. And then I might grab this vertice, pull it up, make sure it's inside. This one, pull it up, make sure it's inside. This one, kind of pull it up a little bit. And just kind of, something like that looks good. So just get myself, make sure that fin. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. L, select this whole fin. G, move it a little bit. I might actually scale this one. It looks like it needs to be stretched this way. So if I grab maybe like that vertice and use proportional editing, I can kind of, see, that's going to be a problem because I'm going to move all of these, and I don't want to move all of those. I just want to move the fin. So I could do something like this and maybe select like a couple of these at a time and make it without proportional editing and move these guys in like that. 1, 2, 3. Hold down shift and select a bunch of them. Move them in like that. That looks good. Grab that guy and pull him up here. So the main thing is we don't have any holes here. And so we'll grab that vertice and pull it in for the fin like that. Okay, that looks great. So I got some of these guys, need to kind of make sure I'm not getting any black back here. That got into the black a little bit, so I want to make sure that gets off the black. It's okay here if these don't go all the way out, but if you want to fine tune it a little bit, you can, and just kind of pull those guys out. So getting this to fit the fin shape's kind of our last step. Okay, so now we've got our model complete now. It looks great, so we'll go back to solid mode and take a look at it. Look at that nice fish model. Okay, so at this point, we need to put the image texture on the fish, and the way we do that is with an image texture material. So I'm going to go back to object mode, and I'm going to go to my materials tab. And you see it's already got a blank material called material. I'm just going to go ahead and call it Tetra, since this is a neon Tetra. So it's a material just for this model. And since I just made this Tetra, I'll go ahead and name this cube Tetra 2, so we know that that's the neon Tetra. Okay, cool. And now the next step is going to be to change the base color here by clicking that yellow dot into an image texture. And I'm going to go ahead and click open and pick the image texture that was my reference image. So in my downloads, there's the neon. So I'll hit that and hit open. And now there's my neon Tetra image as my image texture. So if I go over here now to material preview, you can see, okay, that did not work. So it's not on there, but that's because it's got to be UV mapped. So we'll switch up here to UV editing and we'll take a look. So it shows us the model over here. I'm going to press 1 on the right side to get that perfect side view. That's really important. And I'll hit A. And then we should see how it's unwrapped. You can see, so it's unwrapped completely wrong for this fish. So if I did something, so if I did something like we have been doing where we do U and we do Smart UV project, it's going to just take it and turn it into like individual pieces, like it's cut out of paper, but that's not going to fit either. So what's going to fit really well is U to unwrap, and over here, so A to select everything, U to unwrap, and we're going to do project from view. So you see now over here, you look, we have our actual view, the way that this looks exactly like it does here as UVs. And remember, our UVs are what gets this image on here. Something that always annoys me about Blender, this is set up wrong. When you're in UV editing, it'd be really nice to see how this image texture is in real time being projected onto the model. And to do that, you have to move this thing over and go ahead and set that to, there we go, set that to a material preview, and then you can put it back. So you can see, okay, that's close. We're not right yet. So now I need to go over here and hit A, rotate that a little bit, and then scale it, and it should pretty much perfectly fit. You may have to adjust it a little bit, rotate it, scale it. You have to play around a little bit to get it just right, but look closely and make sure that you have moved that thing around and you have scaled that thing as big as you can make it without getting off. So what happens if you make it too big? Well, what you'll have is, if we go over here, you can see the image texture is fitting inside the model, and so you have a bunch of black around it. So if that's the case, we need to go back, hit A for everything, scale that down, and you can see how that image texture is filling in the box. So it's a little bit better, like I said, to be a little too small than a little too big, because if you're too big, you get black. If you're too small, you just get the edges. So something about like that, and check the rear of the tail. Whoop. So you can move around this window. That looks pretty good. It looks like it's all tail. This looks like it's all tail too. You can also hide that empty now. You don't need it anymore, so that might help. I've got a little bit of black showing right here, so I might go back and scale this down just a little bit more. Yeah, about right there. Maybe rotate it just a little more if you need to. That looks pretty good though. You can move it. Looks like it probably more than anything needs to be moved forward. So I'll hit A, move it forward just a little bit. Perfect. Okay. So now when I go back to layout mode, I have the model of the fish. And since it's a little bit blocky, if I right click and do shade smooth, that makes it even better. So thinking about a fish, the last thing I'll do is go back and look at its material settings. Fish are pretty shiny, so I might take metallic up a little bit to create that kind of more, I don't want to, don't want to go too hard, because then it's going to look like it's like a metal lure or something for fishing. But just give it a little bit of metallic to deepen the shadows, maybe 0.25 or something. And you probably want to take the roughness down so it's a little bit shinier. It depends on if you want it to look shiny or flat, so you can play around with that. I'm using an older version of Blender than you might see, so some of these are laid out in slightly different places, but yeah. So the limitation to this process, doing it this way, is you get a really, really good model from the rear. Looks awesome from the rear. But if you turn it to the front, the texture that should be on the top here is being kind of like repeated over and over and over again, getting stretched out. So like one little part. Now that's not really that big of a deal on this model, because this texture it's not that important. You're only going to see this if you're looking straight at the fish. Most of the time you're going to look at it maybe from the side or from a slight angle, and then it looks very three-dimensional. It looks very good. But if you look at it straight from the front, straight from the bottom, straight from the top. It may look a little on the fake side. And that's okay because it's such a small and important model. It's not like the star of the story or anything and doesn't need like a whole lot of work. Okay, so you've got that. File save. You can save your fishy, and you can also set up your camera and maybe do in view, camera to view, go into camera mode, decide where you want to render it from. Something about like that looks good. And I'm going to go render this in Eevee. And I'll do a 10-second render. Better check my lighting first, make sure the light's good. Yeah, the light's not good. So get the camera where I want it to do, and then I'll go check my light. Where's the light? We'll put it over here on the camera side. Make sure that it's kind of shining for me where I need it to be. Move it down a little bit. There we go. That looks good. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So now I'll do a render in cycles and see how that looks. Shouldn't take very long at all to render. And I've got a pretty good three-dimensional image of a tetra. I got a couple little artifacts right here. It looks like maybe I caught a little bit of black. Maybe that right there isn't great. That's a shadow, I think, from the body of the fish. So, and it's, but yeah, that's good. It's a good model. I'm happy with it. Good job, Mr. Golson. Okay, that's how you do it. Goodbye.